A pleasant day to everyone, and welcome to Elanco Sponsored Talk. I am Mary Grace Alba, Technical Consultant for Swine in Elanco Philippines. It is with great pleasure to introduce to you our speaker for this session. Dr. Angsuthanasombat is a graduate of Doctor in Veterinary Medicine from Chulalongkorn University. She holds a Master of Business Administration degree from Ramkanghae University. Starting her career at Thai Foods Company as a veterinarian in 2011, she later switched her role as the farm manager for swine and worked for the same company in 4 years. In 2016, she joined the technical team of Betagro Public Company as the senior swine veterinarian. 2020 to present, she is designed as the technical marketing manager for APAC at LANXESS Thai Company, handling actives and disinfection, material protection products, and biosecurity solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now hear from Dr. Chanatkaew Angsuthanasombat talk about adaptive biosecurity, science to practice biosecurity and disinfectants in ASF and beyond.
Thank you for the introduction. So what I'll be covering today would be about the importance of biosecurity, talking about some biosecurity concepts, and also how to adapt the biosecurity concepts to real practice by setting an example of case study. Firstly, currently we are facing many disease outbreaks that leads to a lot of socio-economic impacts, while the most important challenge for the swine industry, of course, right now is African swine fever. In the past, when we talk about disease control programs, we'll be more focused about on using medications, both for treatment, prevention, or even use as growth promoters in producing the animals. But right now, with the concern of food safety and the antimicrobial resistance, or the AMR, there are a lot of producers trying to improve management systems alongside with new technologies, new products for many parties, and people are starting to recognize the importance of biosecurity systems. So, implementations of biosecurity measures all along the production chain minimizes the risk of introductions of new pathogens into the farm, as well as their spread within the farm. Biosecurity is ranked as the first alternative to the use of antimicrobial agents in the pig productions, and there are several other studies also found out the higher biosecurity levels helps reduce the use of antimicrobials in farm levels. Advanced biosecurity programs for farm includes both terminal and continuous farm biosecurity. The standard terminal farm biosecurity objective is to prevent the carryover of pathogenic organisms and ensuring that each new production cycles get a completely clean, fresh start, while the aim of the standard continuous biosecurity program is to prevent the pathogens from establishing themselves on site at the first, and secondly to prevent the spread of infections within the farm site. So talking about biosecurity is easy, but how to really adapt the biosecurity concepts to make it really practical and very efficient in protecting the farm is more difficult in doing than saying. A biosecurity program needs a lot of planning, a lot of teamwork, and also needs some investments. And don't forget that each farm has different details and backgrounds in them. Selecting disinfectants to support the biosecurity programs is one important factor that could relate the successfulness of biosecurity programs. Price is usually what people consider most, but then there are also other important factors that need to be considered of. First, you need to think about the pathogens that you're facing at the farm. This chart shows that the disinfectants have different levels of susceptibilities to pathogens. On the top of the slides are the most difficult to kill pathogens. On the bottom of the slides are the least difficult to kill or the most easiest to kill pathogens. Even pathogens have families and have categories, but some can act quite untypically. For example, the African swine fever itself. It is considered to be an envelope virus, but African swine fever is quite a special envelope virus, and this virus is quite difficult to kill. Then you need to consider about the temperature. For hot climates, the hot temperature limits the speed of the contact time of disinfectants when used on some types of surfaces, while in some cold temperatures will affect some types of chemical efficacies. Also need to consider about the water quality at the farm. So what type of water are you using to make the disinfecting solutions? If farms have problem of high water hardness, these levels of high calcium or magnesium ions can have reduced the efficacy of disinfectants when used at the farm. Also, the truth is that you cannot disinfect organic matter, so you cannot spray disinfectants on very dirty surfaces. So removal of organic material before disinfections is very essential. Of course, if you're selecting a disinfectant, you're going to ask for some efficacy data provided by the seller. So just be sure to look at this data to know what are the methods and standards that they use to test and what are the testing conditions that they are using. So does the testing conditions reflect the conditions that you're going to use in the real farm usage? Also, you need to consider about the sustainability. Is the disinfectant easy to use? And last of all, is the disinfectant safe to use? Safe for the users, safe for the animals, and also it has to be safe for the environment as well. I'd like to highlight a little bit more details about terminal farm biosecurity, so about the drinking water systems and about why we need to use a detergent during the cleaning process. So what are biofilms? Biofilms are produced by some types of bacteria. So after they attach into the surface, they will start to repopulate and start to produce some extra polymer matrix to surround themselves. So these matrix are quite resistant to environmental conditions, and also has proven that just washing with water and high pressure cannot break through the layers of these matrix. We also need to clean the biofilms in drinking water systems because biofilms plays a crucial role in harboring the pathogens, which is harmful for the animals, of course, and having a lot of excessive biofilms in the pipeline. So clog the water pipelines or even clog the filters in the pipelines, which restricts the water flow, and this can lead to poor herd performances. Also, if you're mixing some types of medications in the pipelines, the biofilms can also capture these medicine particles, and the animals can have some risk of being under dosage. This could lead to some development of resistant strains. And when I'm talking about resistance, I'm not just talking about resistance to the antibiotics, but sometimes I'm talking about the resistance to chemistry like disinfectants as well. And as you heard me, right? So pathogen resistance to disinfectants is real. It's not just a myth, but it is proven that the resistance to disinfectants is associated with presence of biofilms on surfaces, meaning that if you spray disinfectants on surfaces that have a lot of biofilms on it, you're leading to future resistance. And also bacteria that have been exposed to some low concentrations of disinfectants sometimes might help drive the selections of antibiotic resistance to bacteria as well. This could be further read in some of the scientific publications. In detergent or cleaner products, they have surfactants, which are the most important elements of these products. The surfactants themselves help reduce the wet surface tension, or we call them the wetting agent, and they also help penetrate and detach organic materials, and of course break through the biofilms layers or from the surfaces. So when compared to your cleaning the surfaces with detergent or cleaner, comparing to just using water, using these products will totally make you clean the surfaces a lot faster and a lot more efficient. Other ingredients that we have in formulated cleaner or detergent products is we also add a chelating agent, because hot water does not only compromise the efficacy of disinfectants, but it also affects the efficacy of the surfactants as well. And for the pH influencers in our livestock industry, we are mainly focusing on the alkaline detergents solely. And these are just 4 good reasons to use detergents. It's not just because chemical companies are trying just to sell more products, but using detergents is quite necessary during the cleaning process and nowadays. So I've already finished talking about the concepts already. So next I'll be talking about how to use those concepts and how things really are in real life. This case study is in a small to middle-sized swine farm. The shot on the right-hand side is just to show you about the numbers of housings and units they have in this farm. I'm going to be showing you some slides of the production in year 2019 to year 2022, so you can be able to compare before and after improving biosecurity and management systems here at the farm. So starting in June 2021, we had a case. The farm called because they had 5 deaths of funiparous sows in the farrowing units. After some history taking, we found out they had a sudden change of feed, and they also having problems of low water supply, with these 2 factors causes a lot of stress in the herd. Other clinical signs at the farms are some sows had high fever, and also some sows had a decrease in appetite, especially in the sows in the farrowing houses, so post-farrowing sows. So to confirm this case, we did some blood collections of 6 samples of the sows in the farrowing unit, and guess what the results are? The results came back out that all the samples were positive for the PRS US strain. This was not surprising for me. And one of the samples in the 6 samples also came back positive from African swine fever as well. After breaking bad news to the farm, so we have to move forward, and we use the method called tooth extraction. We culled all the sows from the farrowing houses during the next 2 weeks, so there will be no sows that are moved from the farrowing house to the gestating house. All of them were moved to the selling house to be culled, and we also culled all the sows with clinical signs inside the herd. Any sows with high fever or any sows that shows decrease in appetite, we all culled them. There are some sows that died in the gestating house, so we also culled the sows that were left and right to the sows that died. We also contained and destroyed the piglets in the farrowing houses for the 2 whole weeks, so there will be no movement of piglets from the farrowing house to the nursery unit. And afterwards, we would cull any nursery or finisher pigs that shows any clinical signs or was positive in the blood samples. We restrict all movements of all pigs and personnel in the farms, and the farms choose to use disinfectants of a KMPS-based chemistry twice per day inside the housing, spraying in the presence of animals to help reduce the pathogen load inside the farm. For empty houses and empty animal pens and crates, or even the concrete roads surrounding the farms, we would use caustic soda at 2% solutions to spray on those surfaces, and also we use the caustic soda solutions to pour in the sewers and the wastewater systems. A some of the biosecurity barriers, which are good examples at the farm. First picture is shown is like a fogging room. So this is to use for all visitors to the farm, and also used to put in the small equipments or even the supplies that were delivered in the farm that was small enough to be moved to this room. This farm also has a shower in and shower out systems for all personnel who work in the farm. So before entering the animal production zone, you have to take off the clothes, put into the small wardrobes, which inside this wardrobe also has like an ozone generator machine. After you took off the clothes, you have to walk past through this disinfectant spray and shower and change into a set of clean clothes that was provided by the farm before you go to the animal areas. Other biosecurity barriers at the farm. The vehicle disinfections was the same as other farms, is that they have sprays and they have a wheel dip for vehicles at the entrance of the farm. But what was interesting is that this farm also like constructing this facility and install the ozone generators. This purpose is to be a secondary disinfection for the feed trucks that need to go inside the farm. This farm already has a selling house even before the outbreak. So the selling house is located outside the farm, which this helps that the vehicles inside the farm bringing the pigs to sell will have no direct contact to the vehicles that are coming to collect the pigs at the selling house at all. And they also have a concrete floor surrounding the selling house, which this is very helpful and easy to clean and disinfect the floors in the selling houses as well. This graph shows you the sow populations in year 2019 to year 2022. We confirmed the first African swine fever case in June 2021, and as you can see in this month, the sows population starts to decline significantly, and even now in year 2022, the herd size is still smaller than before. But even though the herd size is smaller than before, when you compare the number of weaned piglets, seeing in July 2022, you can see the numbers of the weaned piglets when compared to the other years. It's quite comparable, and don't forget that in the other years, the number of sows in the herd was a lot higher in year 2022. For another comparison, I'd like to show you the production rates in the nursery units. So first of all, of course, in year 2022, which is after the outbreak and the farm is starting to, get things back on track and back to normal. What's different is the number of piglets that they put per housing, which means is the stocking density is a lot lower when compared to the past. And what they got from that is you can see that the percent of the loss, which includes both culling and the mortality rate in the nursery units, is very low when compared to the past year 2021 to 2018. In year 2022, which is the present year right now, it's only 2%. And also you can see the ADG and the FCR of the nursery pigs is a lot better when compared to the past as well. A little more details about the stocking density. So this is the current stocking density, which is a lot better than before. Even in the past, it wasn't so bad. They were still in the guidelines of the recommended space for pigs. But after reducing the stocking density to this, you can see it reflects a lot of things, and the health status of the pigs in the nursery units were a lot healthier as well. These are to show the structures of the farm. So we did not make any change of the structures inside the farm even from before or after the African swine fever outbreak. So the farrowing house is like every normal, typical Asian-looking farrowing house unit. What might be different is the gestating house. This farm is quite luckier than other farms is that, as you can see, that in the gestating house, the sows have like individual feeding boxes, while some farms will have designs of like connecting feeding troughs for the whole row. So this farm, when compared to others with the long connecting feeding trough designs, I think this farm has an advantage in controlling a lot of diseases by having these individual feeding boxes. For feed and water, the water we did not make any changes at all. So the same water source was used, which is underground water, and we still use chlorine in treating the water before using it. But in the feed, there has been some changes. So in the past, the farm did use some home mix feed, which means that they brought in different types of feed ingredients and mix it into a complete feed at the farm. But the nursery pigs, they were also using commercial pelleted feed. But after making some decisions, the farm owners saw that it was quite difficult in managing the numbers of vehicles coming to the farm and also managing about the quality of the feed ingredients. So eventually in the end they changed to 100% commercial pelleted feed to be used for the whole farm. The health status for this farm in the past wasn't very good at all. There were been outbreaks of FMD, as you can see from the clinical signs. In the nursery unit, you can see signs of some respiratory diseases, a lot of bacterial infections, and also you can see some skin lesions of the nursery pigs in the past. For now, both nursery and finishers, you can see that the animals look a lot healthier and more uniformed in their pens. So this slide is a summary of what this farm has done. First and most important thing is they had strict control of movements of personnel and pigs inside the farm. No cross fosterings of piglets in the farrowing unit anymore, and each personnel is fixed to work in such a specific unit or housing. They use a disinfectant to spray in the presence of animals, but of course they did select to use as fast-acting and safe chemistry. So during the hot issues they used quite a lot of disinfectants, so they use it like twice per day, spraying in all of the units. But currently right now the situation is a lot better, so they reduce the usage of disinfectants to just only one time per day in the sows and in the nursery units, while in the finisher units they just use it once a week. They totally changed to 100% commercial pelleted feed right now, and they significantly reduce the use of antibiotics in the farm. So they do not put any extra topping of antibiotics in the feed nor in the water anymore. And they also limiting about the injections of antibiotics. So right now they're only using one program only is on the day of the castrations and the tail docking of the piglets. So on that day, it's still necessary to like have one shot of long-acting antibiotics to prevent infections on during that day. But then other situations they are not using any extra antibiotics at all. The vaccination programs for gilt and sows is the same as before, but what changed is that they use 1 needle per pig. They reduce the stocking density because, of course, the sows population is lower, so the stocking density in the farrowing and the gestation unit is the numbers are lower, and of course they reduce the stocking density in the finisher and the nursery pigs as well. Weaned piglets are kept in the farrowing house for 3 to 5 days before moving to the nursery units. This helps improve, reduces the setbacks and improves the health status of the piglets in the nursery units. They also did some sorting and dividing the pigs in separate pens by size and gender since the nursery unit, and the same group of pigs is moved to the finisher unit. So by doing this, it's very easy for them to manage the feeding programs, and it also helps reduce stress. So you can see less biting and less fighting of the pigs in the pens, and it also improves the uniformity of the pigs in the pens as well. So it's very easy of them to sell the finisher pigs right now. In the past, they just used water during the cleaning process, but right now they're using detergents products, and also sometimes using caustic soda during the cleaning process as well. So this slide is the last slide that summarizes all the results. After the African swine fever outbreak of this farm in June 2021, of course, they had a reduction in sow populations and had a few setbacks. But after investing in biosecurity and management system improvements, currently the number of weaned piglets and also the finisher pigs that are able to sell per month is comparable to before, even if there was a decrease in the sow populations. This is because the whole health status of the herd is much better when compared to the before. As you can see, this significantly reduces the loss in both the nursery and the finisher pigs. And also the farm has an increase of improvement in the ADG and FCR. So pigs are a lot more healthier, they grow faster, and also they use lesser amount of the feed. They also reduce the field workloads for the workers as well by improving the management system. So you can say that not only the pigs are happy, but also the workers that work inside the farm are quite happy right now. And they reduce a lot of production costs by reducing the usage of antibiotics in the farm as well. So for summary, this farm might have faced some problems, some issues in the past, but right now they're currently very happy and their production is even better than before. And that is all I have to talk about today. So thank you all for your attention.